May I take a picture of your tripod? Okay. Let me get this
Okay,
back.
ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get this started, so please be seated as quickly as you can.
I have a friend
I'd like to
who
call
I'd like to sing to.
Mr. T. Edward Griffin up for a special
I'll
award.
have to tell her about this. That's just a made-up one that you just put together.
Well, people don't know this, but about a year and a half ago, Ed came from California for a Lincoln-Reagan dinner with our Republican group. And you have to understand, our Republican group is pretty libertarian Republican, so but Ed was a perfect fit. And when he came, he had an honorarium which he donated to the Montana Republican Party for a lawsuit that we had to close the open primary. Well, we thought that was incredibly generous of you. And when we had an auction, we had a number of items that were on the auction, and there was one that had particular appeal to you. And therefore, we just decided that we would honor you with this Henry repeating rifle. From the Galvin County Republican Party, and what better place to arm an unarmed man than right here at the Red Pill Expo. And we got a case so that he could get it through TSA. It's got locks and everything. We'll make sure that we get you through the airport. You can in that lock case inside the cargo compartment, but it does say on there, if you notice, it says G. Edward Griffin in defense of liberty. All right, and I want to also mention that our friend Lord Christopher Monson, who is a true Montanan, was also awarded a pair of cowboy boots, because we know how the Brits are about guns. So he got a great pair of cowboy boots in the same way. So thank you, Christopher. Okay, our next panel is the Epiphany panel. And if we can have our Epiphany panel members come on out, and they'll sit here, and our first program, our first speech will be by a friend of mine, Cynthia McKinney, and she is a professor in Bangladesh, and she will be doing a program on the left-right paradigm.
Hi, I'm Cynthia McKinney, and I'm pleased to be with you, virtually at the Red Pill Expo. And the reason I am pleased to be with you is I'm Cynthia McKinney. Hi, I'm Cynthia McKinney, and I'm pleased to be with you.
The first one right here.
The morning, the moment we wake up.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Cynthia McKinney, and I'm pleased to be with you, virtually at the Red Pill Expo. And the reason I am pleased to be with you is that I took my red pill a long time ago. And in fact, every day I take my daily dose of red pill. Because the propaganda is so strong, it is coming at us from the morning, the moment we wake up in the morning, to the moment we go to bed at night. The propaganda comes at us, and the propaganda and the lies and the misinformation and the disinformation come to us 24/7, 365. And that means that in order to maintain our antidote, we have to take our red pill every day. So I get my dosage every day. And particularly when I look at Fox News, read Washington Post, look at CNN, I have to chug those red pills because it comes at us so strong. But now, what I've been asked to talk to Dan about, hi Dan, what I've been asked by Dan to talk about is the false left-right paradigm that's being created. Now, let me tell you something. I am the left. I am the extreme left. I am the rabid left. Those people who are telling us in the media that the supporters of Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party is the left, they are not the left. And they are perpetrating this lie on unsuspecting people because they're trying to grow their influence among people who think and feel like me. Now, so what I was forced to do was to take a stock of my values. So what I did was I did a values inventory. Since I had been told, and I am being told, and all of us are being told, that those people who are aggrieved because Hillary Clinton is not in the White House is the left. Well, I'm happy that she's not in the White House. And so therefore, I know I'm the left. And I'm happy. So that lets me know that there's some kind of machine, there's some kind of mission or operation, intelligence operation going on to win over the minds of people who position themselves like me. And so what I did was I said, okay, well now what am I? If that's the left, then what am I? So I said, well, what are the things that are important to me? And thank goodness I've been doing this on a regular basis. And so I was very clear about what my values are and the values that I want to see reflected in U.S. domestic as well as foreign policy. So I value truth, I value justice, I value peace, and I value dignity, both earth dignity and human dignity. And so now, I know that Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party, they perpetrate lies as well as the Republican Party does. So this whole left-right thing has been turned upside down. Maybe there was a time when it was accurate and it was being accurately portrayed, or maybe I hadn't had my red pill at that time. And so now that I've had my red pill and I understand that it's all false. And so what I have learned is that there are people on the extreme right, and they value truth. They want truth and transparency in their governance. They want a government of integrity. They are sick and tired of all these regime change wars. And it was candidate Trump that enunciated these values. Imagine that we've gone through 3 or 4 national presidential elections, and at no time during the campaign were the wars discussed. So it took candidate Trump to talk about the wars. Now he's the biggest warmonger, and he's also a war criminal, so I guess now he is correctly the U.S. president. But I look forward to the day when my president is not a war criminal, is not justifying torture, is not surveilling all the people on the planet, including the people of the United States, and that instead, that our president is dealing honestly with other countries and with us. So in doing my values inventory, what became clear to me is that then I tested it with discussions that I was engaged in with people who are on the right. And that's when I realized that I don't even know the language now, because they say alt-right and alt-left. Well, I'm not going to use their language, so maybe I'll say populist left and populist right. Well, they want truth and honesty in governance as well. They want transparency in governance. They want a government of integrity. They want respect for the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. So they're just like me. So if we're the same, then we better start talking to each other. We better start cooperating with each other. And we better get to know each other. So first and foremost, it's so important to me that I get to know you. And that's why it's important for me that I accept you as you are, you accept me as I am. And it's kind of like a partnership that we're not trying to change each other, we're just trying to understand each other. We just want to communicate with each other. And through our understanding and through our communication, I know that we can reach each other heart to heart. Because I'm from the South, not just the South. I'm from the Confederate South. And so I've had to deal with this kind of personal transformation all of my life. I've had to deal with people that I was told that I should be afraid of, the Ku Klux Klan. But as an elected official, I had to represent them. As a candidate, I had to ask for their vote. And in the process of doing that, I learned that they have hearts, they have souls, they have minds, and they have reasons. So now, is it possible for us to come together, understanding each other's hearts and understanding each other's souls? Is it possible? For some of us, it will be possible. And those are the people I believe are present in this room right now at the Red Pill Expo. Because you've seen through all of the lies. You've seen through all of the lies even before I saw through those lies. And so now that we can see through the lies together, why not be able to come together? And why not be able to instill our values in the United States of America? Why does it always have to be their values? Because they've been very successful in dividing us. And so we come together, we get out of our silos, we get out of our places of comfort, we get into those uncomfortable zones, and we reach each other and we touch each other heart to heart. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed my presentation. I hope the darn file isn't so big that I can't even transmit it to you guys. At any rate, I'm very happy to have been invited to participate in the Red Pill Expo. And I look forward to seeing you on the road. I've launched this project called #Unrigged, Summer of Peace. Some people have in store for us a summer of violence. And so I've come together with Robert David Steele to say that we need to launch the Summer of Peace. And that's what we've done. So you can visit my website at allthingscynthiamckinney.com and go to the tab that says Unrigged, #Unrigged, Summer of Peace, and there you'll find me. Thanks, bye.
I know we're running a little bit behind, but I have to say, Cynthia McKinney was introduced to me by Elias Aylis, a gentleman who is the Mental Militia founder. And we had a terrific time. I was on a radio show of hers in Los Angeles. She had me on for 4 nights, 4 Sundays in a row. And it was called Conversations with Dan. And she was so respectful of the fact that I talked about how bad communism was and how good individualism was. And we had a very open discussion, and what an open-minded, nice lady. And I'll tell you what, I am just so tickled that she's one of our allies. Even if we don't agree 100% politically, we certainly agree on the direction that our country needs to go. And for a bunch of bigoted racists that were written about in the Bozeman Daily Communist, I can't believe that we could possibly have that kind of a conversation. But thank you. And I would like to introduce Jim Beers. He is a wildlife biologist, retired, and he is the gentleman that turned state's evidence on the federal government for using the Pittman-Robertson Fund to bring non-native Canadian gray wolves into the United States. So I'd like to introduce Jim, and he's going to have a discussion.
Thank you, Dan. I would like to just share with you two things that I think will be of interest to you about understanding government as your concerns, whatever they may be, education or banking or whatever, it might help you out a little bit. I'm going to do that based on my wildlife experience. Okay, I spent 32 years in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I was a federal agent, Nebraska, New York City, Washington, D.C., overseas. I was the refuge budget director, they call the operations chief, for 8 years, congressional fellow, the wetlands biologist, and I was a wildlife biologist in the part of the Fish and Wildlife Service that gave out about $800 million a year in excise taxes to the states. Now, this background is just meant to give me a little bit of gravitas, if you will, about the two things I want to share with you. Back in 1999, Fish and Wildlife Service wanted to fire me. They wanted to force me to move to Boston to an undisclosed job. They may have to demote me, which they couldn't do. And the reason was that I had been successful in defending the American state fish and wildlife agencies' right to manage trapping and to sell furs and to keep the European Union fur market open to Americans, Canadians, and Russians. We all three of us worked together against the EU, who was being lobbied by the same people, the green and animal rights people, that were changing the way all these agencies, EPA, Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, BLM, were working in the United States. Okay? As they were doing that, to get back at me, because we had a director by then who was openly anti-hunting, anti-fishing, anti-gun. Okay? And we had put somebody from Congress who had lost his job in charge of these excise taxes in positions of authority. And they were always assuring these people that we would never be successful in Europe, because it was a big part of the environmentalists and animal rights people's plans to shut down the European fur market, to take it as a big step towards shutting down trapping in the United States. And trapping in its broadest sense, not just of a kid enjoying trapping, not just of a guy or gal making a lot of money trapping bobcats or something, or just animal control that goes on, but trapping all of it. Okay? So in the process of them coming after me, a lot of really nasty stuff went down. I mean, they called the police on me one time because they said they were going to fire me the following week. I didn't even know this till after it happened, and that they thought I would be dangerous. Okay? They're very, very nasty, nasty stuff. Threatened my wife and me with the loss of my pension, loss of my health care, in writing. So anyway, just to make a long story short, as this was all going on, I talked to some congressional staff people who wanted to know what was going on, and in the process of doing that, I mentioned to them that after Clinton got elected, that there was a big surge, if you remember, just like when Obama got elected, of people buying guns and buying ammunition. All kinds of stories. About a year or two. With rifles, shotguns, handguns, ammunition. All of that has excise taxes that are collected on it. So there should have been a big jump in the excise taxes. Well, the first couple of years, Clinton went by. The next couple of years went by and there was no jump in the excise tax money to the states. Congress asked the Fish and Wildlife Service to send them the receipts for the money they got in and what they sent out. And the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service sent them 19 boxes, about this high, of computer printouts. Those old computer printouts are all one big long sheet. And said that was the entire Fish and Wildlife Service budget for the 2 years in 95 and 96 that Congress had asked for the excise tax money. They said it couldn't be broken out. I mean, you don't have to be a computer genius to know that was a lie. Fish and Wildlife Service, I found out later, was laughing through their whatever. About, nobody up there will know that. Well, Congress asked me to, and I went up there and spent 2 weeks going through all 19 boxes. And I'd been a program analyst. I worked in the budget area of Fish and Wildlife Service. I knew the codes and what they meant. I knew all the intricacies of you can't use the fishery money over here, research money can't be used over there, you can't use law enforcement money on the refuge. All these prohibitions, which, by the way, they don't audit your federal agencies. I don't know if you knew that or not. The only time they do is if Congress requests that you do. So anyway, Congress looked at the staffers looked at what I did for them, and I said, this money shouldn't go there. And it was about somewhere $50, $60 million that not only was missing from the excise taxes, but it popped up in the following 2 years, the Endangered Species Program, and out west being laundered through the Public Affairs Office and the Portland Regional Office and sent down to California where they were opening up an office. Congress had specifically prohibited an office to be opened and provided no money for it. Congress had specifically refused to give them any money for bringing wolves in or letting wolves go in the Upper Rockies. Refused to provide any money for it. Now think about that. He did it anyway. They stole the money, spent it, got the wolves, did not make out the documents where they're from. We know they're from Canada, but there's no import documents that they would put me in jail if I brought in a little knick-knack and didn't put it down on the form. Be that as it may, long story short, I got sent home and Congress asked me to come up and testify along with the General Accounting Office, which, by the way, changed their name 2 years later, the General Accountability Office, because they didn't hire accountants much anymore and they didn't do audit reports anymore, because they were hiring more and more history majors, education majors, and PE majors and that, because they had a BS degree, okay? The same thing happened, by the way, in the Fish and Wildlife Service, Forest Service, and BLM. When they came out under Carter and said that you had to hire more women and minorities, the managers all moaned and groaned that they couldn't find enough women and minorities that they could hire to bring in because they didn't have 40 hours of biology or forestry. That they had never worked in a regional office, so they couldn't promote them. So within a year, they said, well, that's not that important. So they combed out all those requirements. They started hiring and promoting and transferring and keeping real close records on it because their goals were things like 15% for every one of the top managers, which you look at and say, well, that sounds reasonable after centuries of discrimination and that. But the truth is, once they got rid of the requirements for those jobs, you no longer have wildlife biologists, forest managers, range managers. Universities don't even train them anymore. Okay? Those schools are gone. As soon as they started getting that, they started keeping track of, I had 67% last year higher, so I had 44.2%. They kept track of it that close because it made them bulletproof if the boss wanted to get rid of them and gave them a bigger bonus. Okay? So with that in mind, I spent 10 months, finally got a big cash settlement. They paid me tax money to not say a word or write a word for 3 years. For 3 years about anything to do with my separation. So you, the newspapers, for what they were worth, or anybody else, never had the chance to say, we think you're lying. This isn't right. You made that up, and this and that. The General Accounting Office, nobody got punished. The director of the Fish and Wildlife Service, like the two following directors, walked out of the job when the president changed to a 6-digit job with the NGOs they worked with. The gal that left when George Bush came in, went to work for the Defenders of Wildlife. The one after, the one who was under George W. Bush and Obama came in, he went into the Wildlife Society, and the one after that just walked out now into a 6-digit number with zoos and aquariums, okay? That's how it all goes. That's what's kind of going on in Washington. Now, what are the two things I want to tell you about this? Oh, by the way, one other thing. The Fish and Wildlife agencies, the Fish and Game state agencies never asked for $60 million to be replaced. They took that from our hunting and fishing programs, never asked for it. You know why? Because they have a big lobby group in Washington that, like all the other lobby groups, hired big bureaucrats to run it. It was being run at the time by the retired chief of the U.S. Forest Service. And he told them, don't say anything because we've got to work with these guys and things are changing, endangered species grants, and we want to get along with them, all of that. So they never asked for $60 million. Nobody ever got punished. The guy that was placed in charge of the money under the director at the time it was stolen is the guy who was the director under Obama. Okay? So that's the kind of politics that's going on. So what are the two things I want to share with you? The first is I want to tell you how laws are made. I'll do that real quickly. You think it has to do with hearings, you think it has to do with legitimacy. Senator Beers, Congressman Moncton over here, decided to sponsor the Endangered Species Act, or we're going to save the wilderness, or we're going to do blah, 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 all this stuff. And they make a big deal about it. And they appoint their top staff people to write up legislation like they want. Okay? So how do they do that? The top staffers get all the people like me over in the agency that knows all about birds and fish and whatever. And we all get together and we kind of write the whole thing out. Their main concern is to make the congressman and the senator look good and get good news releases. That's all. That's all. What's my purpose? My purpose when I go in there is to get more authority in this area and to justify more people so that I have more people under me and I make more money and I get a higher grade. And that's the bottom line. You can say all you want, oh, I'm here because I love the animals and that. That's why I'm in the business. But that's what is driving you there. That's what the director wants to see, and that's what you do. So they pass the law. It doesn't end there. The bureaucrat takes it back to the agency and writes the regulations with all the shalls and mays and all this stuff to give the director the authority to take without compensation and to set any animal where they want anywhere, to close certain parts of the national forest, to shut down logging over here, to get rid of grazing over there. That's what we want to do because we know that's where the future is. So that's written into it. It doesn't end there. I get together, they get together with the Defenders of Wildlife and the National Wildlife Federation, and we sit down and talk after work in meetings that nobody knows about. They go on all the time. And we talk about, what we really need is authority for the director to name subspecies and populations and subpopulations. And we need to be able to insert little things over here and little things over there. And we need to be able to tell the states that they can't do anything about it. They got to do what we say. And we don't want to have to pay for when they kill dogs. And we'll give the Defenders of Wildlife the authority over government payments for compensation for cattle. Of course, when they go out, it's kind of late by the time they get there and they never pay any compensation. Okay, that's how the racket goes. So you go to court about certain things to get precedents. That happens within a year or two. So we got a precedent from the right court and the right judge who all the time gives them what they want. They know that. And they go in with a contrived lawsuit, Center for Biological Diversity and Natural Resources Defense Council, about this certain aspect of us claiming land or not having to pay for this, or having authority to do that. And pretty soon, there you go. You've got a precedent, you've got a regulation, all of that's in place. Think of all the laws you're concerned with. That's how they're in place right now. It's like a big spider web. The last thing I want to share with you is how spending is obfuscated. None of them keep track of how much money they spend on this stuff. And I'll use as an example the wolves, because I've worked with people about land seizures in Colorado and dogs problems in Missouri and panthers and shorebirds down in Florida. But wolves are the best example of this. But it's true about all of them, and it's true about everything you guys are concerned about. When they want to spend money on, say, wolves, got a couple of wolves come into Illinois, or like Montana, suddenly they got a whole bunch of wolves spreading out of Yellowstone. They get so much money for it from their legislature. They may get a little grant from the Fish and Wildlife Service, and they're, oh, you know, we gave them $728,000 and all that stuff. They're spending far more than that. And they're spending a lot more than that every year that goes on, that they don't get. How do they do that? When they have to go and justify the wolves and have training for the employees and spend the game warden out to look, oh, somebody said there's a dead wolf over here, and we need to go over here and explain to these people over here that wolves are a great thing and wonderful for the ecosystem, and we need to have more training for our fishery people, and we need to have a training thing put together, and we need to have the director go to a meeting in Washington. That's all taken out of the other stuff. And it's not recorded. And I don't say that because we're supposed to get upset about, oh gosh, it really was $4.2 million in that year, if we knew that. The car that the guy drives, his retirement, his health care, the office that's provided for him, and he's supposed to be doing things for deer and elk and waterfowl, but he's spending 70% of his time working on wolves. The secretary, the contracting office, all of them. And there's times where some of them are doing 100%. That stuff goes undone that they get the money for. And until that can be clarified, I got in trouble. The reason I bring this up, and I'm glad to be here, about 2 months ago I wrote an article and I said, I think in the last 30 years there's probably been hundreds of millions of dollars spent on these wolves, if not $1 billion. And I mean, I got hate mail like you wouldn't believe. But I'll stand behind that. If we really do the numbers, the time they've been in these states, they're in over half of the lower 48 states now. That's a valid number. How do we provide it? The states aren't going to provide you any answer, nor are the 6 federal agencies that are spending money on wolves right and left. Okay? All of the regional directors that are giving secret instructions to the people who are supposed to be doing waterfowl work, and they don't do that anymore. We just had a computer seized in Nevada about 6 months ago from waterfowl violations because of that. Anyhow, those are the 2 things. Business about wolves, how laws are made, and think about all of them that are in place and how they're all welded in there with these precedents and all this collusion with these interest groups. And the other thing is about how we don't know where they're getting the money and how they're spending it. And the things that are going undone that you think are being done. Well, you know, they're still looking after the elk, and I know that's the truth because them guys count those all the time. A lot of that stuff is just smoke and mirrors now. It spreads almost like a cancer. So I'm 2 minutes over. I apologize for taking the extra 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
You really do need to hear the real whole story from Jim at some point in time, and he's up in our area quite a bit. So if you ever hear of a program that he's doing anywhere in your area, in your state, he travels the country, you should really try to go to that program. It'd be well worth it. Our next speaker is Anthem Blanchard, and Anthem is a member of Freedom Force. He's one of the leadership council, and Anthem, I welcome you. He's going to talk to you about another form of sound money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you, Danny. So everyone here having a good time, first of all? Y'all, yeah? Good? All right, excellent. Good to hear that. So how many of you, out of curiosity, know about cryptocurrency or think you know about cryptocurrency already? All right, good. That's good. All right, hopefully we'll get more hands raised at the end of this 15 minutes. So I also want to give a massive thank you to one of my heroes, G. Edward Griffin, for your example, your vision, your courage, your commitment to fact-finding, and for shining a light on those who seek to force their will on others. I just want to thank Ed again, and he's been a great mentor, and it's been a fun process volunteering for Red Pill the last year and a half with the team. And I wanted to thank fellow volunteers, Debbie, Pat, John, Russ, Jason, and all of the Red Pill, Dan, of course, all the Red Pill volunteers. So if we can just give them a round of applause too, that'd be great. Let me just share with you a little bit why I'm sitting here today with you, speaking about the revolution that is what I like to call, and others like to call, the open marketplaces that are known as cryptocurrencies. I was personally raised by incredible parents, as well as incredible grandparents, as well as incredible step-parents, and most of them either fought, fled, or were enslaved by some of the most brutal, infamous, tyrannical regimes in history, including Nazi Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union. For example, my father's father, James, was shot twice and was one of the first to liberate concentration camps in Europe during World War II. My mother's mother, Raisa, was forced to work as a slave laborer on a tea farm in modern-day Georgia, the country of Georgia, in the Soviet Union, and was later shackled basically by the Nazis and forced as a nurse to work for a doctor during World War II as another slave laborer. She nearly died after that because at the hands of the Soviets, the statists basically deemed that she was a traitor for being captured by the Nazi Germans and working for a German doctor. So in order for her to escape death, she tried to poison herself with a can of tobacco first, that didn't work. And then she jumped off of a truck convoy with a guy that she had met that she ended up marrying named Jacques. And because she married him in France, they ended up living, and I'm sitting here today, or standing here today, it's incredible. You might recognize my last name, Blanchard. My father, James E. Blanchard III, advocated tirelessly to push for gold legalization, which he ended up spearheading, and he achieved in 1974 when U.S. President Gerald Ford repealed Executive Order 6102, which U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt enacted on April 5th, 1933, and it required all gold coins, gold bullion, meaning bars, and gold certificates be delivered to the government immediately for $20.67 per ounce. And less than a year later, Congress basically gave their formal blessing in the form of the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, as passed in that January. Officially outlawed gold private ownership of all sorts, and further devalued the dollar by 75% to $35 an ounce, right? So $20.67 to $35. So that was within less than a 12-month period of time. My father fought for America's right to own gold with all of his might, a feat made even more amazing by the fact that he had multiple vertebrae shattered in a near-fatal car accident less than 1 month before his 18th birthday. He ironically rehabilitated in Warm Springs, Georgia, which was famous for U.S. President FDR, because he founded it in 1927 when he suffered and ended up being debilitated into a wheelchair. During the early 1970s, my father ended up smuggling a gold kilo bar from Canada and paraded around in his wheelchair at Washington, D.C., calling for press conferences and eventually attracted more picketers. He actually paid for a banner to be flown behind a biplane, and it said legalized gold during Nixon's re-inauguration. My mother, Jacqueline, or Jackie, and my dad, Jim, went on to found James E. Blanchard and Company, or known now as Blanchard and Company. They built it to be the largest gold company in the world, and sold it in the late 80s. They also founded the New Orleans Investment Conference and Gold Newsletter, which they also subsequently sold. I think a lot of you have been products of that here. I know Patrick had some nice stories last night about some integration and kind of the former social networks that used to just be conferences prior to the internet. So I'm also personally the product of basically the second time my parents badly defeated government, with the first time being the legalization of gold fight. So this will be pretty incredible for many of you to believe, but in the year 1979, it was illegal in the state of Louisiana for a paraplegic person to adopt because they were considered legally unfit to have children by fiat government decree. So you can imagine by this time, 1979, my parents were incredibly successful, multimillionaires at this point in the late 70s, self-made, thousands of people coming to their conferences, world leaders, all the mints in the world coming to my parents wanting to basically give blessing for my dad because Blanchard sold more coins than all the other dealers I put together at one point. So pretty amazing. So the work around here was my incredible Uncle Bill, my mom's sister's husband, who grew up in Chicago. Being the good Irishman that he was, he went to Catholic church and ended up being friends with a gal that ended up being the daughter of an Italian mafia boss by the name of John D'Arco. And one of John's businesses was an adoption ring through the Salvation Army Hospital. So Salvation Army used to have hospitals around the world where they would basically help broker adoptions. And so broker indeed happened, and my parents basically bought me. So I'm a black market baby. There you go. So it worked out pretty well, I must say. So my parents are so intent on advocating for personal liberty, they literally branded me with the name Anthem Hayek at the age of 3 days old when they adopted me. So my first name Anthem is recognizable probably as a national name, of course, but it's from the Ayn Rand dystopian fiction novella titled Anthem, which is supposed to be an ode to mankind, or an anthem to mankind. So my middle name, Hayek, comes from the author and the incredible Nobel laureate, Frederick August Hayek, authored Road to Serfdom, as well as Denationalization of Money, and really believed that the denationalization of money or currency was necessary to unshackle individuals from the forced will applied by the kleptocratic collectivists out there, which we know all about, right? So I've been fighting my whole life for denationalization of currency actively throughout my whole adult life, starting in the digital private currency realm in 2002. But the real revolution came about 8 years ago, when the concept of open marketplaces was realized with the advent of something called Bitcoin blockchain. So just keep these things in mind. Bitcoin, blockchain, open marketplaces, they're all synonymous. Governments are forced marketplaces, right? See, governments are forced marketplaces, which can only change through violent means such as revolution, conquered through war, or immigration to another forced marketplace. Blockchains, also known as cryptocurrencies, are open marketplaces, where a marketplace can be switched with an easy token exchange. Back in 2010, the first Bitcoin purchase was made in Jacksonville, Florida, where a man paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. So it's about a conversion rate of about 1/3 of a penny per Bitcoin. So today, those Bitcoin would be worth a little over $25 million. So why has Bitcoin gone up literally over 1 million times in 7 years? Why is this? Well, Bitcoin, it can be used as a currency, right? So it can be used as a currency like a dollar. We used to make purchases like any other fiat. But unlike a dollar, Bitcoin is not created by fiat government to create. Instead, Bitcoin is mined by specialized software that solves complex math problems. The math gets increasingly harder over time. Each Bitcoin maintains a transaction record through a secure chain each time it is used, which can't be modified after the fact. So this is key. So unlike Soviet Union, where records were just abolished, unlike various times at Enron, you can think in private sector example, infamous example, where records can be deleted. So blockchain is immutable. After it's mined, it can be traded and sold to anyone. So it's a secure chain each time it's used that can't be modified, and ultimately the record is tamper-proof and it's basically impossible to counterfeit. So Bitcoin's led the way, and today it's got a market valuation of a little over $40 billion. Bitcoin has created basically this new type of vehicle that we refer to as cryptocurrency, and has spawned hundreds of, really thousands of other cryptocurrencies. I'd say ones of note, about 1,000 or so. One of the issues that we've had with cryptocurrency is volatility. While volatility is generally amazingly great when prices are going up, there is a desire in the marketplace to have a stable asset-backed cryptocurrency. And this is evidence that we've seen over a dozen of what we call these asset-backed, metal-backed crypto tokens that our expert team has identified out in the field. So this is something that our team is solving, this gold question, basically. It's a deeper question. It's a question that goes back thousands of years. And that question is, how do you trust the gold that's vaulted in the vault? How do you know it's real? How do you know it maintains to be real? How do you know it's not repledged? So we're vaulting, we're launching a gold cryptocurrency. We're calling it Anthem Gold, and an Anthem. And it's backed by a gram of gold, and it's going to be vaulted, the gold backing a kilo bars of gold vaulted in the most secure facility in the state of Texas. And it's incredibly exciting. It's going to be completely transparent metal, RFID chip, video camera, a complete one-to-one verification. We recently had a successful raise, which I'm very excited about. We completed it today, so I'm very, very excited about that. Yeah, thank you. So we had 130 investors from all different places around the world, and over 670,000 is what we clocked in. 678, I think, is what we clocked in that. So thank you, everyone, to your team. And I wanted to just show you a short 90-second clip, and then we'll just do a quick little conclusion. So thank you very much.
Anthem Gold is the most exciting thing that has ever happened to cryptocurrency and gold. Anthem Gold brings gold and cryptocurrency together in a marriage made in heaven. Called the Anthem for short, Anthem Gold is digital, spendable gold. It is revolutionizing the world of currency. Unlike the vast majority of cryptocurrencies, every Anthem is backed by 1 gram of gold, which gives Anthem Gold a tremendous amount of stability. Already, renowned precious metals dealer Amagi Metals has agreed to accept Anthems, which can be used to buy gold, silver, and other precious metals. In addition, clients can redeem their Anthems for stored bars of physical gold, which back each unit. Up to now, sending gold or traveling with it to other countries has been inconvenient and full of red tape. With Anthem Gold, you can safely travel worldwide and spend gold through simple person-to-person transactions by using any internet-connected device. Anthem Gold initially uses the Ethereum protocol as the person-to-person delivery network and operates with the usefulness of cryptocurrency delivered and confirmed in seconds without chargebacks or swipe fees. Anthem Gold is building its own person-to-person AGLD network to allow millions of transactions to be executed per second. Anthems will be exchanged 1-for-1 to the new AGLD network coins once the network goes live. Anthem Gold is revolutionizing the way we live our lives. It truly is a new...
Great, thank you. If you're interested in learning more, go to our website. Actually, no, we have a screenshot of the Bank of the Future. It's a day old, so the numbers aren't quite as impressive, but that was as of yesterday. So yeah, so we clocked in another over 100 grand, so 120 grand in 2 days. So that was pretty good. So if you're interested, go to anthemgold.com. It's very, very bare bones, but the important thing to click on there is a phrase on there that says receive all Anthem Gold news immediately in the Telegram link. So Telegram is kind of like the new Skype. People internationally really like it because A, it's not owned by Microsoft, B, it's really lightweight, so it takes very little bandwidth, so countries that pay for bandwidth, they like it. So it's kind of like the popular group chat, one of the big popular ones in this cryptocurrency community. So I wanted to thank you all. You can also find me on Twitter. Anthem Hayek is my tweet handle. Feel free to tweet me. We can exchange emails. I'll be around here. You can find us on Facebook, Anthem Gold. Thank you very much. May the Freedom Force be with you all. So thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is a lady who has gone through an awful lot. You're all probably, or at least most people here, are very familiar with the story of Jeanette Finicum. And this is his wife, his widow, Jeanette, and I would like to have her tell you her story. Thank you.
The tech thing.
Mouse is screwing up a lot. There you go.
I believe there was a video to be played.
Play it if you want.
shooting. Take him here. Let's do this. Thank you. Stay down, stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Are they shooting him? Did they shoot him? You asshole. Oh my God! Stay down. Is he dead? Stop it up. I am dead! Stop it.
Are you dead?
No, hold on, hold on, don't shoot. Hey, no shooting, don't answer. Where the hell is the boy? Down.
I can't see.
Shut up. Stay down, Mike. Stay down. Stay down. Whoa! Check. Keep down. Did they kill him? I think they did. They're shooting over here on this door. Okay, oh, you don't.
No, it didn't.
Hold still, hold still. Diana, where did you get today?
I'm not bleeding.
Hey, don't.
My husband was murdered by our government. And I guess that was the day that I took my red pill. I want to back up just a little bit and say thank you to Dan and Ed Griffin and Debbie for inviting me here. I have enjoyed this last couple of days. I've learned so much, and it is really wonderful to see so many people that are of like mind here, learning more. My husband was Jeanette Finicum, and he was the man that was shot and killed 3 times in the back. He was left to lay in the snow overnight. They didn't attend to his body until the next day. They didn't have a warrant for anyone at that point. They didn't have the warrants till the next day, and I believe they were issued around 9:30 in the morning. But because my husband had already been murdered, they didn't issue a warrant for him. They hadn't done anything wrong in my eyes. They were in Oregon exercising their First Amendment right while exercising their Second Amendment right to peacefully assemble and demonstrate and to stand for their neighbor that was in need of help. I believe maybe the most they could have had them, a reason to cite them would be for trespass, because they ended up staying longer than 14 days. What has our government come to? The officials in Oregon I hold responsible as well, along with Director Comey and Loretta Lynch. Senator Wyden commented to KOIN 6 News that they needed to stop the virus from spreading and fast action was necessary. So Governor Brown wrote a letter to FBI Director Comey and Loretta Lynch asking for a swift resolution to the occupation, which she called it. I happen to know, and I know you guys know, that throughout this country demonstrations have been held where riots, property, personal harm to individuals have transpired in their exercise of free speech. These men were peaceful, men and women, were peaceful demonstrators. They wanted their voices to be heard. They wanted someone to hear about the plight of the Western rancher, farmer, loggers, and miners. They wanted the lands rights issues to come to the forefront. They needed help, and nobody was listening. The media was on board. Within 24 hours, they were all organized with the script that they wanted us, the American people, to swallow. So they had all of their buzzwords coordinated and memorized. And they would have had you believe that they were racist or sovereign citizen terrorists, or that they were white right-wing crazies, or that they were bitter religious nuts that were clinging to their guns and religion, end quote. But what is the truth? Who was Jeanette Finicum? Well, Jeanette Finicum was a man of God, first and foremost. He loved his family. We're proud parents of 12 and proud grandparents of 25 now. He lived every day to his fullest. He loved to play and to tease, and he worked very hard for everything that he earned and accomplished in life. He spent years loving and teaching and mentoring teenage boys that we had in our home. He loved his neighbor and he gave freely. He had a dream to own his own ranch, as his father and grandfather did, and he was able to realize that before he was killed. He loved his cows. He was strong and courageous. He was principled and trustworthy. He was loving and kind, and he was my true friend. He loved freedom, his agency given to him by God. He loved his children and grandchildren so much that he was willing to stand for them. He loved living in America, and he knew he was blessed to be here. He loved this country and stood for liberty when he was called. I'm not used to, hopefully.
Just let go of it.
Okay. Technology and me don't mix. There's a picture of our family and some of the kids we had in our home and grandkids. Over the past year, I have been through quite a lot, I'm sure you can imagine, on every front. After the runaround with trying to obtain a death certificate so I could be made representative of his estate, which took 6-7 months, because Oregon did not want to give me a death certificate. They didn't want me to move forward with all the other things that I needed to do. But what I didn't expect was that I would be abused by my own government. I was soon to find out that I was being followed by the FBI to multiple speaking engagements, that the FBI had asked to raid a couple of them, giving excuses of reasons why they felt that was necessary, having venues that would back out because of their intimidation and lies, memos going out to city councils, etc. I had been labeled a sovereign citizen terrorist wife, claiming that I was anti-government and then put on their watch list. I am not anti-government. I am, as my husband was, for pro-responsible, limited government. We believe that our First and Second Amendment rights, we believe in the Constitution to be the law of the land, and that we should stand up to defend and protect it. Officials, the Senator Wyden, Governor Brown, the FBI Director Comey, Loretta Lynch, wanted his voice to be silenced. They want our voices to be silenced. In Ephesians 6:12 it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." I think we see a lot of that today. Samuel Adams said, "If ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats in government, our country will stand in need of its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. I'm looking at a room full. A couple of the things, like I said, besides the FBI intimidation and slander, murder, I've pressed forward. That worked. Trying to solve some of my other problems. In particular, I became a new rancher overnight. I'm the city girl who married the cowboy, and I still don't know how to saddle my own horse. My daughter helps me with that. She teaches me a lot. With that said, I've been learning to do hard things, and I know that I can do hard things. I've been out working the ranch, and it came time to put my cows back on the ranch, and the BLM, of course, insisted that I no longer had a permit. My attorneys and I have been working with them and trying to communicate for almost a whole year now, trying to secure my right under my husband's permit as a transferee of my husband's rights under testamentary disposition. Instead of following this clear federal regulation, the BLM instead obfuscated, refused to acknowledge that I was my husband's wife and widow. They denied that I had any right to that permit and pretended that it simply was terminated upon his death. We showed them federal regulations that authorized the transfer of rights of that permit to me, and instead they obfuscated and ignored it. To this point, they have refused to even acknowledge my rights under a clear federal regulation, 4110.2-3E, which is of the transfer of grazing preference, and instead ignored me and continued their obfuscation, thus forcing my cattle off my land and forcing me to go through the litigation process now for almost an entire year. Let's go over this again. First, trying to get an agency to work responsibly with the ranchers, apparently too much to ask for these days, and when and if they deny me my right to operate under my husband's permit, which so far they will not do officially, I am then second required to appeal to that very same agency for a review of their own decision before I'm allowed to then litigate in court. And third, because they won't even give us, my attorney and I, the courtesy of an expeditious denial, we have been forced to go through what could be seen as a separate but equally slow channel to find remedy, which is through a congressperson's office. In summary, the effort required for a simple American to exercise their right is so monumental as to make it nearly impossible to earn our rights. To top it off, it's also important to note that if we don't go through this process, I can be denied all rights to litigation in the future for not having exhausted my administrative remedy, which ironically, that administrative remedy is sought from the very same administrators who have been ignoring and disruptive to me in the first place. All I've experienced is delay after delay. They're hoping that I will quit, fold, go bankrupt, sell, so that they don't have to deal with me, so that maybe this sets precedent and they can do that to the next person. Well, my husband, I should say, was willing to lose his ranch for what he believed in. And I couldn't, in good conscience, do anything but what he did. And that is to stand for what I know is right. And I will not stop. I know that they have silenced his voice. But in doing that very thing, he has created 13 more of us, 12 kids and myself, that are speaking out very loudly and are not willing to stop. I don't understand this. I don't understand why they are picking on this particular situation, other than, you know, I don't understand why I'm the subject of their abuse, other than I know that they want to make an example out of me and of my husband, to put more fear into the hearts of all of you. So if they can shoot a man 3 times in the back and kill him dead for standing up for property rights, for standing up for liberty, and then take everything his widow had, not allow her to put her cows back on or continue ranching as the family wants to do, then maybe you will think twice before you open your mouth and stand for liberty. I know that the men that are in jail, suffering in these federal prisons, is horrifying. The ones that should be in prison aren't there. These men should be home with their families. One of the ways that I'm funding these legal battles that I have with the BLM and the wrongful death suit of my husband is I am selling my husband's book that he wrote before he passed away. He wrote this and it was published in 2015, and he was killed and shot, 5 months later. He wanted to teach people about freedom, and he had this story in his mind, and that he felt that that was where he could best serve. And his book talks of a family's struggle to come together and survive. It deals with what matters most in crisis, during a crisis and chaos. It is about loyalty and bravery, fortitude, family, freedom, and sacrifice. It's action-packed for you guys. He has developed his character so well that you will hate the bad guys and be inspired by the good guys. It will leave you asking yourself, what would I have done? Am I prepared? Have I prepared my children? What kind of person am I? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? This book also highlights human weaknesses of every kind, and these weaknesses are exposed during the trials and crises that we face. It will leave you asking, what would I do? A friend of mine was inspired this way after reading the Boy's book. He said, a major theme of this book is that the people we each are before the collapse will be the people we are the day after the collapse. So spend your time now being the people you want to be. It's about preparing your children. Teach them about faith, hard work, justice, and freedom. Lavoie's personal knowledge of the joy and love within a family is very enviable, leaving you with wanting to spend more time doing what you love and with who you love, inspiring you not to waste time. I was so touched by that review from my friend, because that is exactly what Lavoie was trying to do in writing that book, to teach, to inspire, and to put people into action.
America, stand. The night is far spent. The Constitution has been shredded, but it lives in your heart. You know what freedom is and what freedom isn't. Stand, because when you stand, others will stand with you. And God can't stand with you if you don't stand. Once you stand, you can expect the hand of providence to be over you. Don't matter how it ends, it matters how you stand. This is Jeanette Finicum. One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. See you later.
said, "It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen to set the brush fires of freedom in the minds of men." And I would like to think that Lavoie, the patriot that he was, set a few brush fires of freedom and liberty in the hearts and minds of many across this country, and I know it to be true as I've traveled. And I've met so many of you that have comforted us and expressed your love and concern and prayers, and I am so grateful to all of you for that. That his sacrifice, that his stand for freedom and for liberty, for his agency that was given to him by God, was not in vain, and I know that to be true. I'm grateful for a Savior, my Jesus Christ, my brother, my comforter. I'm grateful for a Heavenly Father who loves me and knows me individually, and he knows what I need. I'm grateful to know these things because I also know that I will see my husband again, and that I will be with him again, and that we will pick up from where we left off, but not after I give him a good scolding. But again, I want to say thank you for having me, and God bless you all, and keep moving forward. Let's keep taking those red pills so that we are awakened every single day. God bless you.
There's something here you need to do. Every one of those books should be out of here, and they should be paid for in hard cash, and if there's any donations you want to make to this lady for the fight that she's had, please do so. This is absolutely essential that we stand by our friends, and we stand by the people that are willing to do the right thing and to take the red pill. And Lavoie Finicum, I've had Jeanette, and I've also had Shauna Cox on my radio show. And Shauna Cox was the one that shot that video with her phone in the back seat of that truck. And it was, no question, murder. And there's no doubt about it. It was murder, and it's been proven on the film. There's just no way you can avoid that. So please support this lady and give her the help that she needs to be able to fight off the BLM and to be able to win this lawsuit. And we hope that we can help in some way. Thank you very, very much. Excellent. Take this one too. Let's fill them up. Let's fill these hats up. Well, I guess I'm the last one to talk about the red pill. Have we had a red pill that you can actually feel like you've had the experience that you came here to experience? Has it really been the red pill for you, or are we still on the blue pills? I don't think so. I think we're on the red pills. And we need to move forward with the idea that we are the foundation, we're the nucleus. And I see young people here, which absolutely tickles me to death. I know one friend, a very good young man who is a friend of our family. He is a grandson of a very good friend. He was elected governor for the Boise State Convention, and he's here today. And that's the sort of young man that we need. That's exactly the kind of people we need to pick up that gauntlet and take it forward, because without young people like that, we have no future in this country. So God bless America, and I am going to now, we're running a little late, I'm going to ask G. Edward Griffin to come on, and thank you panelists, you've been fantastic, thank you.